who works with Talkin Sports, a contributing writer for Autzen Zoo, covering Oregon and Big Ten sports. Welcome, Dale. How are you?
I am great, JD. It is great to talk to you.
Fantastic. Okay, so big game this past weekend. You called it an iconic drive by Dante Moore. 18-16, didn't have your best stuff going. I mean, what a final drive. I mean, wow. Wow.
It really
Just
was. It was one of those epic college football finishes. I mean, um, Iowa goes on a 93-yard drive to go ahead 16-15 in with about 151 to go. Dante Moore steps onto the field in the cold and wind and rain, leads a 10-play, 54-yard drive for a 39-yard field goal. And Oregon over the years has had horrible luck with clutch field goals. I mean, there are so many heartbreaking finishes where they've missed a big kick at the end of the game. But in this game, Atticus Sappington, their transfer kicker from Oregon State, hit three from 49, 40, and 39 yards. Really a clutch performance by Sappington. His holder, James Ferguson Reynolds, who's also the punter, and Luke Basso, the long snapper. I mean, those three guys were flawless in really difficult conditions for football.
now, I wanted to talk about some things with you because you have a big game. It's a big turnaround. And listen, Dale writes phenomenal. If you don't follow him, he's on Facebook. You have to follow him. He puts out articles like people make slices, like order slices of pizza. He is. I'm going to use the word plethora for how much you put out there. But it looks like fantastic football weather for tomorrow night. Correct? It's looking like great weather.
Does. It's an epic Friday Night Lights kind of game with daytime temperature is going to be 62, which
Wow.
is within a few degrees of the all-time high for Eugene, Oregon. I checked the very warmest weather we've ever had on November 14th was 68 degrees in 1912. So to hit 62 in November is a rare thing. And I checked also the historical low for this date is a very Minnesota-like 14 degrees. So for it to be, this warm with very little chance of rain and light winds, that is perfect football weather. The overnight low is like 49, so it's going to be very comfortable. And I am grateful because I'm taking my wife to her first live college football game, so I think she'll enjoy it.
Wow. And I saw the uniforms they're wearing for the game. So it's white helmets and green uniform. Is that what?
Yes, it's a completely new look for them, a color combination they've used only a few times with some very absolutely brand new touches. They have a white marbled helmet with green stripes and an O on the side, and they have a traditional jersey in green and yellow, uh, green jersey, yellow numerals, and then plain white pants. So it's a completely different look for them. She looks very fresh and clean. I've got a story on that on the website. And out here, Oregon being a Nike school, JD, people really get into the uniforms, and the uniform culture and the uniform innovation is a big part of the Oregon brand. Kids from all over the country like and follow Oregon because of the uniforms. As an old guy, I just assumed that they wore green and yellow all the time, but they mix it up a lot.
I mean, is that their? Did you write in the article that's their 12th or 13th uniform? Yeah, yeah. My friend Josh says one of my friends, TCA Josh, how you doing? He says he loves it. Listen, with the kids today, you got to have a little pizzazz. They like the swag, as they call it.
Absolutely. You hit on exactly the right point, JD. they do this not for you and I,
No.
old guys who like sports. They do it for the recruits, the kids. And in the 12 to 18-year-old age group, Oregon's one of the most popular teams in the country year after year, right up there with the Florida Gators.
So, okay. So I wrote a bunch of stuff down. Oregon is a 25.5 point favorite. Am I reading that correct?
It is. It's up from 21.5 at the open. So it's notched up 4 points. I think partly due to the weather and partly due to some positive murmurings about Oregon's health. They went into Iowa minus several of their starters. Tight end Kenyon Sadiq was out. Their best wide receiver, DeCorian Moore, was out. Gary
Right.
Bryant left in the second quarter with an ankle injury. Starting right tackle Alex Harkey missed the game with an injury. Devin Jackson was missing from the defense. So they were short a few bodies for that Iowa game. And the talk is they'll get at least some of those guys back for this one.
Who? Because that's what I read your article. I haven't seen anything. He's been mum about it. Is DeCorian Moore playing, do they think? And is Bryant, do they think Bryant and Sadiq are all playing, or it's iffy? 50-50? What do you think?
Dan Lanning plays it very close to the vest about injuries. He declines to say anything about who's in and who's out. Um, they there won't be any official award until the mandatory Big Ten injury report, which comes out 2 hours before the game. But
2 hours. Wow. Okay.
Yes, that's a Big Ten rule. But in the meantime, there's been some social media footage of DeCorian Moore dressed down for practice in full uniform. And so the feeling is, he might be ready to go. There's some, message board talk that he is. Same with Sadiq and Harkey. We'll know if you want me to send you a text at 4 p.m.
No,
Friday afternoon.
no. I will watch. Listen, you have to follow Dale on Twitter. Articles. I will be looking because I was kind of curious because if they're not playing, I was looking. Okay, so Malik Benson would have to step up. Jeremiah McClellan. Also, you're talking about a freshman in McClellan. Benson played a lot, right? Played the last game. And is Jamari Johnson? He really had only 13 catches, so he's not a guy who's had a lot of chances, I would say, to produce yet. Right?
He's a transfer, JD, from Louisville, a sophomore. Has some good talent. He moves well. He's got good size, around 6'4", 255, something like that.
Right.
And in the last 3 games he's kind of come on, he had a 56-yard catch against Rutgers, and in the next 2 weeks against Wisconsin and Iowa, he had a catch for 23 and 21 yards. He's a good blocker, and he's starting to show out a little bit as a receiving target. He's not as fast or as athletic as Kenyon Sadiq, who might be a first-round draft pick, but he's a good, solid tight end, and they feel confident having him ready to go if Sadiq is unable to go.
Now you had an interesting thing. So we have a guy in our TCA chat, Brandon, is a huge Ducks fan, and he was furious because one of the offensive linemen stepped on Dante Moore's foot, right, where he was going back for a pass, and the tight end was wide open. Right? Who was the tight end?
It was number 3 tight end, Roger Saliapaga, who is from Orem, Utah, I believe. And you're right, JD. The way the play was developing, Dante Moore was lined up under center on a 3rd and short situation. A look the Ducks don't use a lot, but it's set up perfectly for a pop pass where he, makes a fake to the running back and then drops back and throws a soft pass over the line. And Saliapaga was coming open by 4 strides, but
Nobody, right.
Max Llewellyn, the good Iowa edge rusher pushed the offensive guard straight back into Dante Moore and tangled up his feet, and Moore went down. Otherwise, the play is almost a sure touchdown. Tough luck for Saliapaga because earlier in the year he's a sophomore. His first season uh, with the Ducks, he played only special teams, got hurt during the end of the year. So far this year, he got a pass for a 49-yard touchdown against Wisconsin, only to have it taken off the board by a holding penalty. And
Oh,
this game, he's going to be wide open for a pass over the middle, probably about a 25-yard touchdown, and Dante Moore gets tripped up. So far he's been kind of snake bitten, reserve player trying to make a name for himself and gets some playing time. And each time he's in position to make a good play, something goes wrong.
so the thing about the game we had talked about was that they were going into a hostile environment, terrible conditions, and everybody says I'd rather win ugly than lose. And talk about everything that could go wrong in that game, where you thought, okay, it's over, and then to have that, what you said, that iconic, that moment where you're like, okay, this is why we brought in Dante Moore. This is your moment. People remember this, and so they're number 8 right now in the college football playoff poll, which, right, like as you said, it's all garbage right now because every week someone's going to knock someone off. But are you happy? Are you content? I mean, not content, but you feel that Oregon right now is in a position to make some headway and make the college football playoff. You're feeling that? Do you feel confident right now? How do you feel about that?
I think Duck fans are optimistic, JD. They're definitely in a position to control their own destiny. They have 3 games left. Friday night against Minnesota, 6-3 team, unranked. And then on November 22nd, they're scheduled to play USC, which is number 17 in the college football playoff with a 7-2 record. A good, strong team that will help their overall resume, provided they take care of business. And they finish the season on November 29th after Thanksgiving with a trip to Seattle to play Washington, who got upset this week by Wisconsin 13-10.
Right. Shocked.
Owing
I
to
was
your
shocked.
point.
Right.
Yes, a definite shocker. I mean, Wisconsin hadn't had a win all year in the Big Ten, and again in the bad weather, they just shut down Washington's offense pretty much, and one with a good play at the end. So it is such a year of parity in college football. There have been so many unpredictable upsets and turns, and this week there are 4 games involving top 25 teams in the college football playoff. Big matchups. Texas at Georgia is one of those. Will have an incredible impact on what that playoff poll looks like. As you said, it's going to change every week. Oklahoma's Alabama at Alabama. That's a potential elimination game for the Sooners. And there are a couple of others that are just so impactful that could go either way. And then there's always the potential for an upset you don't see coming.
So interestingly enough, I knew I was having you on. You're my college football guy. Notre Dame at Pitt. Now Pitt's ranked for the first time in a couple of years. That and game days, ESPN game days is going to be there. I'm very interested to see. Notre Dame has been blowing through teams. They lost the 2 teams that were ranked. They haven't played anybody ranked in a while. And I don't know how good Pitt to me is a team. I don't know enough about. I mean, I found the ACC. I don't know if you agree with me. I mean, Miami. I mean, everybody's losing. Virginia lost this past week. Louisville lost this past week. It's like, who wants to get there? And the highest ranked team in the ACC right now is Miami, which I think is not that good a team. So that's it. Virginia, Duke, that's another game. Duke has been up and down. Oklahoma. Now, I saw Oklahoma in person. Dale, I am not impressed with that team at all. I think Alabama is going to run them out of the stadium. I just don't think they're that good. I think they're way too high ranked. Where I don't say that about your Oregon team. I feel you have a solid team. And then Texas. So my cousin is coming in from Galveston. We're going to watch the game Saturday at a bar in Manhattan. And He goes, I'm going to drink. I go, you're going to drink whether they win or lose. I said, I said, that's a big game for Arch. Now, Georgia, I don't know how I'm not sold on Texas. I think they're okay. I don't think and Georgia is very well coached. Kirby Smart has won big games. Sarkisian, in my opinion, is not. I'll take Dan Lanning. I'll take Dan Lanning over Sarkisian because I think he can win big games. Whereas I think Sark, and then USF is playing the Navy. USF is in the college football playoff poll. But they're the group of 5 team in. Navy, that's a stinky team. I know they got blown out by Notre Dame, but you're playing at Navy. Like you said, and then you got, like you said, and then you got USC next week. I think USC is overrated. I don't think USC is that good. That's me. I'm worried more about the Washington game for you guys. I feel PJ Fleck is a good coach, but then when they play bad, they play really bad. So, I mean, that's why I have you on. I love your opinion. I love you talking about this stuff. So that's
the thing about Minnesota and PJ Fleck, they're a solid, well-coached team, but in 3 road games this season, in their 3 road losses, they've been outscored 110-20 on the road. So they haven't been good on the road, and that's a big challenge for them.
Right. And and I feel like when they play bad, they play really bad. And I feel like after last week, in terrible conditions, I mean, a nonstop rain and in a hostile environment, and it shows, the wind showed me something too. Iowa is still in the they're 20, right? They're 21, which is a show that they are a better, and Ferentz every year just gets he doesn't have, no one throws for 300 yards. They're not this flashy team, and they just win games. So I thought that was a huge win for you guys. I mean,
I agree with you, JD. I think it was. I was particularly impressed with the Hawkeyes' discipline and their defense. They're a team that just doesn't beat themselves, and they stay in ball games. They've got a terrific offensive line. It'll be interesting to see how well they handle a bounce back. Traveling to Los Angeles to play the Trojans this weekend. That's an interesting matchup. You've got Iowa that has the defense and special teams, and USC who's loaded with skill position talent and offense, but maybe the defense isn't quite as solid. So that's an interesting matchup.
So I did a show the other day. There's a picture of USC. They had Amon-Ra St. Brown, Michael Pittman, and Drake London all on the field at the same time, and they didn't do anything with those teams. That's what drives me. I mean, you had Dante Moore threw for $112. He threw for 112 yards, and did almost half of them came in that last drive. He made a pass, Dale, in that last drive. Was it a 20-something yard pass right on the money? When he had to make the pass, he made that, and I was like, I was in a restaurant in New Jersey with my phone watching the game, thinking of you. I'm like, I got to watch the end of this game. And he made a pass, and I was like, wow, what a pass he made.
That was JD, one of the best throws I've ever seen an Oregon quarterback make, particularly given the situation. There are 25 seconds to go in the game. Pouring rain, cold, wet, windy, and he recognizes that he has man-on-man coverage on the outside and throws a back shoulder throw to Malik Benson for 24 yards to get them within field goal range. Given the amount of pressure there was in that situation, and that ball was, Brad Nessler, the CBS play-by-play guy, said that wasn't thrown into a window, that was thrown into a portal. And it really was. He hit Malik Benson right on the number 4 on his jersey, where the 4 makes the little crook. It was just right there. And Benson, for his part, very well coached play on his part. He does not tip the pass in any way. It's so well thrown that he doesn't move his hands until the last second. So the defensive back has no time to recover, to break up the ball or reach in with his hands, because he doesn't get any sort of tip from the receiver, which is a very important coaching point that maybe a lot of receiver coaches don't get. But Ross Douglas at Oregon, he does a terrific job with the Oregon receivers. Really, really excels at development.
I mean, that's because all the guys that are getting from your team, you have so many guys that have, like I said, you're the tight end we were talking about. I'm blanking on who I just was talking about. Who
Kenyon
I said
Sadiq,
no, not Sadiq. Who was the guy
Jamari
who?
Johnson.
Yes, these are like everybody's producing. So you have to have a a coaching staff that is getting the best out of all their players. I mean, that pass was, and that's what I wanted to ask you about. So I'm already seeing that Dante Moore is in. The Athletic had a projected NFL draft, and they're saying Dante Moore is going to go in the first round. And I'm like, that's what I wanted to ask you. Do you think he needs to stay another year, or do you think he's ready for the NFL?
That's a great question. More, and you're right. The Athletics projection and several others that I've seen have him going maybe in the first 10 picks. He's got lots of arm talent. What he doesn't have right now, after 9 games this season, he has 14 college starts. And he definitely has, great character. He's a bright young man, a hard worker, terrific throwing ability, but he needs more experience. Another season at the college level will just get him recognizing defenses better, more comfortable in a greater variety of situations. One thing that Indiana was able to exploit against them in their only loss was he didn't succeed at recognizing the simulated pressures, at sussing out where the pressure was coming from when they show 6 and blitz 4, those kinds of situations. And more time in college football getting more comfortable recognizing coverages, taking command of the checks and protection adjustments. And he and his team, his parents and his agent, they're all pretty much on board. Todd McShay had a piece on his podcast a week ago saying that Moore's very, very likely to return to Oregon for another season. And I think it will help him in his overall development. He'll get paid fairly well as a college quarterback, certainly not what an NFL first round draft pick will make, but his chances of having success in the league as a first year player go way up with more time behind center.
Because I feel the same way about everybody was saying Arch Manning. I go, no, 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 no. He knows he also has that unit around him. Like, no, no, no. We gotta slow our roll here. Like, guys, let's not get crazy. Let's let him get some more starts and everything. And I don't know. So it was interesting while that was happening earlier in the was the Indiana Penn State game at the same time as your game? I can't remember.
Just before it ended, right before Iowa and Oregon kicked off.
Because Mendoza, to me, did not look good all game. Penn State was definitely pumped to play, and it wasn't even that catch by that kid Moore to get pushed out of bounds, have the wherewithal to keep his feet in bounds. I thought Mendoza showed me something like, which it was very interesting to see Mendoza and Moore both have that moment where, hey, you know what, we're playing now for a college football playoff. This is every game counts, and both guys stepped up, which I was very impressed by in that game too. So I was like, Big Ten, and I still feel I'm very curious to see Ohio State, Michigan, because I think it's more in their head. But Ohio State looks like Sayin has done things that quarterbacks, and they've had a lot of quarterbacks there. None of those guys. He's doing more in 9 starts than those guys did combined. I saw a stat. I was like, wow. So I find that the top 3 teams, I'm very curious. You could have 3 teams from the Big Ten make it to the college football playoff.
Maybe even 4, but definitely 3. Oregon probably has to win out because their schedule strength isn't as strong. Right now, Iowa's their best win by far. Of course, the Penn State win gets discounted because of all the trouble the Nittany Lions have had since.
Right.
But you're absolutely right, though. Moore and Mendoza both had one of those iconic Heisman moments. It was really fun to see. Game on the line, clutch throw under pressure. Julian Sayin and the Buckeyes have been so dominant that you have to give him credit for just how precise he is. I mean, he's completing over 80% of his passes. They haven't been tested. They haven't been taken into the third quarter in any game, but that's just because they've executed so well in all three phases. And they, of course, he has great talent around him, but he puts the ball where it needs to be almost without fail. So yeah, he's a great talent, and I wouldn't argue at all if he winds up winning the Heisman Trophy just because he's been excellent throughout the season.
And I have a question to ask you. So last year's team wins the Big Ten, wins the Big Ten championship game, gets to the playoff, gets blown out by Ohio State. How do you think this team might have a little more resiliency? And Lanning now has that year to see, what went right, what went wrong, that it might help them going into the playoffs this year compared to last year where it was like,
it was a new experience last year for everyone, wasn't it? And
right.
I think you're onto something. Dan Lanning has been much more measured this year in how he uses the roster, how he develops the subs, the choices he makes about resting players or maybe are a little dinged up. He's been very intentional about about playing for the long season and being playing and aiming to play their best football in December and January. And so I think that will help him. He definitely has a plan. They'll face the same challenge eventually. The road to the college football championship leads through what? Georgia, Alabama, and Ohio State. You may avoid them in the first round if you earn a first round home game, but eventually, you have to beat the best to be the best, and that's still Oregon's challenge. They've got to get over that hump, right?
So that the one school you left off was I wanted to ask you about was Texas A&M. Now, are they legit? I'm not so, and they got to play Texas. They play at Texas Thanksgiving weekend, and that's going to be, that's the thing. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with these teams.
And one of the issues with all of that is the conferences are so big now that there's no schedule balance whatsoever. Ohio State can go through an entire season and not play Indiana or Oregon. Texas A&M misses most of the big guns in the SEC. So consequently, with 18, 16 teams in a conference, that means some teams are going to have a real gauntlet to run, uh, like Florida has this year, and some teams like Texas A&M. Very very good team with talent. Baron Morton's a talented quarterback. They've got a lot of studs on defense, but they really haven't had to play the toughest teams in their conference, and won't really be tested until Texas and perhaps the SEC title game. So we don't know. There's an extent to which teams are an unknown quantity because schedules are so uneven.
Yeah, that's it, right. And I think SEC next year is going to nine games. Is Big Ten doing that too? Is
the
Big Ten doing that?
The Big Ten has always been 9, and I think most conferences should be. I as an old head, I kind of long for the days that college football reorganizes along the lines of 10 team conferences that are regional to connected states, and you play every team in your conference, and then you go to the playoffs and play everybody else. So there are you know, that allows regional rivalries to happen. That allows, teams to be equally tested within a conference. But that may never happen because, TV drives the bus, and it's
Yep.
whatever TV
Right.
wants.
And I almost feel like we're heading toward a like one conference. They're just going to mash them all together because I'll tell you, for someone to watch Ole Miss play the Citadel last week, for your fan, who cares? It's not even worth playing. I mean, it doesn't do anything. So you blow the team out. You're expected to blow them out. I'd rather see. That's what I like about the SEC. Every week they're beating each other up. So one team's 5 1 week, they're 10, and just up. And I'd rather see that. And I'd rather see a 3-loss team make the playoff than a team that hasn't played anybody. That played. I'd rather see that. To me, I'd rather see that.
I agree. That November cupcake that the SEC schedules. Now, obviously, they play some tough football over the course of the year, but playing the Citadel or Furman or
Right.
you know, that's a little ridiculous, and it's such an advantage over teams that are playing rivalry games and in cold weather against physical opponents, and getting that breather and getting a chance to have that extra home game in November really throws things out of balance, and nobody wants to watch that. I mean, last
Right.
week Oregon actually dropped a spot in the polls. Ole Miss passed them up after beating the Citadel for 49-0. What does that prove?
I texted you about that. I was like, you guys dropped, and they played Citadel, and Josh said, unfortunately, never happened. I agree with you, Josh. It's not going to happen again. But I can't stand USC played Southwest Missouri State, who played their former coach. I'm blanking on his name.
Clay Helton?
Yes. So they put up 70 points on them, and I'm like, that's what's called a scrimmage. That's a scrimmage. That's not a game. Let's be honest here. Come on, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, it would be nice at some point, as long as TV's driving the bus. They demanded, more competitive games. Have everybody in the FBS, or at least the top 64 or 68 teams, play one tune-up game. One team, one game against a team, a middling type of team to sort of get their offensive line gelled and so forth, and one legitimate, top 30 team, to where we see more matchups like Ohio State and Texas, and instead of these, Oregon's non-conference schedule this season turned out to be pathetic. I mean, they played 3, one-sided, lopsided games. Now, in their defense, one of the things that made that happen was when their game with Oklahoma State was scheduled, 5-6 years ago, the Cowboys were a really good team, a perennial top 25 team. And, it's not Oregon's fault necessarily that, they've fallen on hard times in the NIL revenue sharing era, and Oregon State went downhill in a similar way. But I think everybody who's a fan of college football wants to see more competitive games, more real competition, and less of these ridiculous one-sided resume padding type of games.
Yeah, exactly. A resume. So, I mean, and yeah, Josh said it was messed up before all this. They've gone in the wrong. I agree. And it used to be like Michigan plays like 3 patsies every year. So they have 4 home games in a row. 3 of them are patsies. And you're like, what is this preparing them for? And I always tell my girlfriend that. And I'm like, I know you went to Michigan, but this is garbage. I don't want to see them play. No offense to Central Michigan or Western Michigan, but that's what they should be playing. That's not. What is that preparing them for? I mean, and I don't know. And that's another thing. I feel like I talked to her about that a lot. I haven't seen Bryce Underwood make that jump that I feel like other quarterbacks in the Big Ten have made. And that is what concerns me about that team. I feel like, I know he came in, he's only 18 years old, but I feel like he has a lot of a big growth spurt to grow in his football game. And I guess we'll see what happens on that front. Yeah, I mean, so. Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see how he handles the big game.
Right, right.
Yeah,
right.
He's a lot of fun to watch. He's got some talent. He's athletic. Maybe a better runner than passer at this point. But it'd probably help him if they had at least one non-conference game that was a real test and a real challenge.
Well, right, and they played Oklahoma, and he was overthrowing everybody. And I was watching. We watched and he's really overthrown receivers, and I'm like, I guess we'll see what happens. But you did put in the article that Cam Miller, PFSN had him as the highest rated guard in the country in Week 11. Oh, I'm sorry. Cam Miller did. Emmanuel Pregnon. I'm sorry. Cam Miller posted this that he got a 92.7, best in the country. I mean, that bodes well for your team. I mean, he was the number one highest rated guard in all of college football. I mean,
Oregon's offensive line has been nominated as a semifinalist for the Joe Moore Award, the award for the best offensive line established by Aaron Taylor to honor his coach at Notre Dame, Joe Moore. But they are a semifinalist for the fourth year in a row. Against Iowa, they had 265 yards of rushing, and that's the most the Hawkeyes have allowed in 5 or 6 years. It was a tremendous performance, and Pregnon and Iapane Lalaulu in the middle, their center, did just a tremendous job of spearheading that running game. They were making chunks. I think they had 7 runs over 10 yards in the game. A 27-yard carry by Noah Whittington, a couple of 19-yard carries by Dierre Hill and Jordan Davidson. The Hill's carry was for a touchdown, and nobody expected them to get chunk runs against Iowa, something that Phil Parker and the Hawkeye defense rarely give up.
Yeah, I mean, and what did I read? I read that Iowa was giving up an average of 84 yards rushing a game before the Oregon game. I mean, that 265, especially for Iowa. Yeah, I mean, just a great win, Dale. I mean, just a great win for you guys.
Particularly on a day when you had 4 of your leading receivers out and the weather conditions dictated that you had to run the ball most of the time. To run that effectively throughout the game and running for chunks, that's a real tribute to Ali Terry and his offensive line.
And Whittington ran for, yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. What were you saying?
Oh, no, you're fine. Whittington ran for 118 yards and a touchdown. He was a beast, and he was tough to bring down. He made extra yards on run after run.
So, and that's the thing. You have a 3-headed monster. You got him, you got Davison, and you got Hill. I mean, Davison ran for over six a carry, and so did Hill. I mean, you have 3 guys. You take out. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, to have that many guys that you can throw in and bring in. I mean, for the opposition, that's a tough.
Yeah, and JD, they have behind them the other 3 guys. Jaden Lamar is, I think, running for over 5 yards a carry this year. He's been out a couple weeks with an injury. Jay Harris is a big back. Dink Riggs is a big back. So they can go 5 and 6 deep at running back, and those top 3 are all among the top 30 rushers in the country for yards per carry.
Is terrible. I mean, in the Big Ten, and I'm from Jersey, and they should not. And then Michigan, which is going to be an interesting game. So I'm curious to see what's going to happen. And also on defense, you had your fastest guy. Who you mentioned, your fastest defensive guy was out for the Iowa game. But Mixon had 13 tackles, 9 solo, half a tackle for loss. How is it? How do you say it?
Tuioti.
Tuioti had 9 tackles, 5 solo, a sack, a tackle for loss. And now Bryce Botcher is a transfer. Is he a transfer, or
no,
has he been?
He is a former walk-on. He went to South Eugene High School, and walked on in baseball, then walked on in football. He was a safety and quarterback in high school, weighed about 190 pounds, but developed himself into a middle linebacker, became a starter in his third year in the program, won the Burlsworth Trophy, which is the award given to the most valuable player who started his career as a walk-on. He won that last year and is a semifinalist for that award again. And he's been really steady for the Ducks. He had a sack against Iowa. It was a big play. He doesn't make a lot of tackles for loss, but he's just tenacious and he hustles all the time. So kind of sets a tone for the defense in terms of his effort.
Uh, Now, does he have pro potential in your opinion?
He was drafted by the Houston Astros as a baseball player. He was a Gold Glove center fielder for the Ducks in baseball, and probably his future as a pro athlete is probably in that sport. His maybe he doesn't have quite enough speed and agility to be an NFL linebacker, but there I could see it being a special teams player just because he's got this wonderful intensity and attitude. But if my son had that kind of athletic ability, I'd want him to play baseball just because you can have a 20-year career and still be able to walk and take your grandkids to the park when you get done.
Right, right. Now, I kind of wanted to shift gears because you just posted today, and the name hit Taj Ariza, and I was like, wait a minute, I know that name. I know that name. So that's Trevor Ariza's son is a 2026 signee who looks like the real deal. And one of the things you put in the article was he was I'm blanking. Was Altman at? He said he was wearing an Oregon jersey. Was he at his gym? Was Altman recruiting him and saw him and changed his shooting?
Taj Ariza tells a story that when he made his visit to Oregon in September, he was wearing some Oregon gear out shooting hoops in the gym, and Altman came in and gave him some shooting tips. And he proceeded to make almost 30 in a row 3-pointers after Altman worked with him for a few minutes. And he said, that's when I knew this was the guy who could develop me. That's the guy I wanted to play for. And his father, as you said, Trevor Ariza, played 18 years in the NBA, won a championship with the Lakers in 2009. And uh, his son Taj is a Los Angeles area kid playing for St. John Bosco this season. He played for Westchester last year and locked up in the city championships against Gilbert Arenas' son. And the two of them had a battle. Uh, Ariza won it. He had 20 points and 10 rebounds in the semifinal game. They won the city championship. He's since transferred to St. John Bosco. So he played on the U19 USA basketball development team. He's tremendous talent. The first 5-star that Oregon signed since 2023. They're very excited about him because he's one of those 3-tool players. He can shoot, he can rebound, he can play defense. He's also a pretty good passer. So he's the whole package. 6'9", 200 pounds. Very excited to see him come aboard, and it's just in time because it's probably the last season for their big three. Nate Biddle, Jackson Shelstad, and Kwame Evans are probably leaving for the NBA after this season.
How do you feel about the team so far? They're 3-0. They won. What, they beat South Dakota State the Jackrabbits. How you feel about the team?
They look good. They're coming along. The 3-point shooting was a little bit better in the third game. They are going to the Players Era tournament later on in November, and that'll give us a better read on how they're coming. The challenge for them and for Altman, and he does this every year, he brings in a lot of new guys, a lot of length and athleticism, and then he has to mold them into a team and teach them how to play his brand of basketball. And so far, they're making really good progress. You'd like to see them shoot a little bit better and cut down on the turnovers. But 3-0 is a great start by any measure.
And how about the women's? How you feel about the women's team?
The women are really fun to watch, and I JD, where'd you go? He's burning something in the kitchen. But the women are really fun to watch. They've got a forward from Fresno State, Mia Jacobs. She's 6'2", a shooter and rebounder. She had 26 points the other night against Grand Canyon, and so she's going to be the star of the team. Katie Fiso is taking over a point guard, and she had 20 points and 10 assists, her career high. So she's looking like she'll be a player for them. It looks like they have a good blend of shooting. They're going to be an open court team, much like they were when Sabrina Ionescu was on the squad. And they're going to be a lot of fun to watch because they play a fast break style of basketball. And Kelly Graves done a good job with them. I think they'll be very entertaining and in the hunt to reach at least maybe the round of 16.
Oh, you do, so you really? Oh, you think this team could go? Oh, okay. Oh,
I do. I
okay.
think they've got a good combination of talent and coaching, and I think they will contend in the Big Ten. And Jacobs is a big part of that, just because she's so versatile and works on both ends of the floor.
Now, one of the names that I was so TK Simpkins, right? It's Simpkins, right? TK Simpkins is on his third school. He started at he went to some Florida school, and then he went to Elon in North Carolina, and now he's here. So I thought he played at Seton Hall. His brother plays at Seton Hall, but he had 20 points the other night. Now I didn't I didn't read anything about him. I heard about the big three. Is he a guy that could be like a dark horse to lead his team? Or
JD, I think so. As you said, he had 20 the other night, and in this last game, I don't have it in front of me, but in this last game, he hit some threes, and they really need that. They need some reliable shooting from distance to give some balance. Nate Biddle inside is a great inside scoring threat, and he can shoot the three a little bit. But they need to be able to avoid those scoring droughts. And Simpkins is looking like a guy who can provide that for him. He had a big moment the other night, not this last game, but the game before, where he won the game with a runner off the glass at the end with 3 seconds to play. So he's not afraid of taking the big shot. He was like I think of a 14-point a game scorer, second team all league for Elon last season. So he's a veteran. He's reliable, handles the ball well. So I think he'll help, particularly Shellstad, by finding providing some balance at the other guard position.
So let me ask you a question. Kwame Evans, you think he's gonna? He thinks he's gonna go pro after? I mean, he hasn't had a good run so far at Oregon. You think he thinks he's gonna go pro after this year? I mean, they talk. He's included in the big three, but he's not like Biddle. He's not like Shellstad. I mean, I feel like, has he turned the corner yet, or is he hasn't really evolved? I don't know what the word I'm trying to use here.
Not completely. He had thoughts of turning out for the draft this year, and it probably would have been a mistake. I think he made a very sound decision in returning to the team, and he really hasn't put it all together. He's 6'10", a former McDonald's All-American from Baltimore, Maryland, and he definitely has the length, the ability to shoot, uh, uh, the ability to defend and rebound, but he hasn't had a great many of those sparkling games where he scores 18 and gets 12 boards. But he has the potential to do that. And both he and the Ducks are hoping this season is, now he's a starter. He's playing full time. His place in the lineup is secure. He survived a scare the other night. He went down hard on the floor and had to be helped off the court and helped to the locker room for an exam. Looked like he tweaked his knee, but it turned out to be not a big deal. In his 2 years at Oregon, he's in his third year now. He hasn't ever missed a game. He's played in every game both years, so been very durable. So they are really hoping this is the year he starts to blossom and assert himself. But yes, he has to show it. Right now it's all potential.
Yeah, and it is interesting where you come in. Was he a 4 or 5 star? He was a highly rated player coming in, correct? He was a
Yes.
big get for you guys, right?
In his year, he was. He was a very promising player who was recruited nationally. So, there have always been big expectations for him because he's so long and athletic. But again, all potential means is you haven't done anything yet.
So Josh, my friend Josh, says prospects are suspects because right, we talked. You know what there was a thing. So Tarek Skubal and Paul Skeens, both with the Cy Young. Between the two of them, I think they had 3 scholarship offers. 3, and J.J. Watt came in, I think, as a 1 star and had to go to Wisconsin, and his parents didn't pay the first year because he didn't get a scholarship. And his parents he goes, listen, his parents, it was money that it was tight. And he said, listen, it's going to pay off. And you always hear like this kid, Kwame Evans, came in and especially you're coming from Baltimore, Oregon. You're going completely across country. You're not around family. That's a big jump for a kid. So I respect him for that. But I keep looking at his stats and I'm like, he's real. And then you got TK Simpkins, who starts at Northwest Florida State, goes to Elon, comes here and is like, nothing has been given to him and he is hungry. And I wonder, you watch him, do you see that thing? Now, you said he hasn't missed the game, but do you see that hunger, that desire? Like, is his game improved from year 1 to year 3, in your opinion? That much.
It feels like it has. I think now he's much better at picking his spots and knowing when to take the game over. He's a great piece to have in your lineup because he's the guy who can break the scoring drought, who gets something going when nothing is going. And he's both a 3-point shooter and a penetrator, and he can pass a little bit. He's made some good feeds so far. So I think, as a veteran guard who can handle the ball and shoot, he's a great addition to this team.
Now, you said the women's team, you feel Sweet 16 potential. The men's team, you think they can make the tournament? You think they're a tournament team?
I think they have a good chance of making the tournament. Most of the projections I've seen so far have them in the field. They're just outside the top 25 at this point. And Altman has a well-deserved, long-standing rotation for developing a team and at getting them to play their best basketball in March.
Because the thing I wanted to ask you that always pops in my head, like you see all these recruits, they go to I want to go to Bama. Well, there's 7 guys that are you were the guy. You were BMOC and the women too. And you're going to a school where there's 7 guys who are just like you were. And I'd rather go to a school where I know I could develop. I know everybody wants to, in their head, they want to go pro, but I feel like I love that you're saying, because you had Knicks that stayed a year, you had Gabriel stayed a year. I like the idea of Dante Moore staying a second year because you feel like Oregon's the place that guys go for that extra year to go to the pros. And I'd like to see a guy.
It really is a benefit both for the player and the program. Dante Moore made a really mature decision. He had a tough year as a true freshman at UCLA. His coach, Chip Kelly, left to become the coordinator at Ohio State. So he entered the portal and came back to Oregon intentionally to sit a year behind Gabriel and just develop, reset his game. And that showed tremendous maturity on his part and wisdom on the part of his family and agent for him to make that decision. And it looks like he'll repeat the same kind of patience when it comes to making a decision this January about coming after the draft. And it's become a little bit of a tradition at Oregon in that, as you said, Nix came back for an extra year. Dylan Gabriel came back for an extra year. Justin Herbert came back for his senior year. And before that, Marcus Mariota was draft eligible as a redshirt sophomore, but came back to play his redshirt junior year. So, that's, five quarterbacks in a row who have had a long term perspective on their development, not merely a where's the big payday right now, but, what's going to set me up to succeed at the next level once I get there.
And stay there. And right, that's the thing. Is it getting there or is it staying there? Because that's the thing. And I'll tell you, I love watching Herbert play. I know a lot of people say, oh, he hasn't won. I said he's with the perfect coach. He just makes it. There's people who make it look effortless. He makes it look effortless to me, in my opinion. There's just something about his game. He just goes out there and he just slings it. And I'm very curious to see what they're going to do. I mean, I know you're covering Oregon, but you do watch them play in the pros. I mean, you're really talking right.
Absolutely. I try to write at least a couple of Ducks in the NFL stories every week. And I agree with you about Herbert. He is so fun to watch. He reminds me a lot of Dan Marino in his ability to deliver just a beautiful ball. I mean, a ball that's, right in the exact spot, throw a 40-yard line drive for a strike. And and he's such a good athlete. He was an all-state baseball player in high school. He played I think, a state champion basketball team as well at Sheldon High School. And he is fun to watch because right now he's tops in the NFL in rushing for a quarterback, which is
Oh,
crazy.
I didn't know that. I did not.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, and
Wow.
he has the Chargers at 7-3 without an offensive line. His top two running backs are hurt, but he's just been resourceful and tough and taken a beating and made big plays and yeah, he can throw a ball like few guys in the world. I mean, just for his accuracy and arm strength and touch, they're just marvelous to watch.
And you also have another guy, Bo Nix's brother, Tez Johnson, who to me feels like the kind of guy who will just be in the right place. He knows when he needs to make plays. Like he may have two catches, but those are going to be two catches. And I think the Bucks picked up a guy. There's something about him. He just makes plays.
He he makes a great compliment to Mika Egbuka on the other side, just as particularly at the goal line because Tez is so elusive. He's got such a stop start. His time in the 40 was disappointing by NFL standards. He came in at 4.53, which is fairly slow for a guy as small as he is, but he's so elusive and he's so quick and he's pesky and resourceful. And he had two touchdowns in their game Sunday. They wound up losing it, but great performance for him. He's in the red zone in particular. He's just an incredible weapon. He's tough. He'll go over the middle. He's really good at the crossing route. Uh, I think back to the Big Ten championship game against Penn State. He was MVP of the game with something like 183 yards of receiving, and so he's a clutch guy, and it's fun to see someone so small
Right.
succeed in the land of the giants.
What is he? So Josh was saying, you think he's the next Mike Evans? He's not the same build, but making plays. Maybe he could be that guy where you need a big play. What's he weigh? A buck? Wasn't he? Isn't he 147 pounds or something like that?
Well,
He is.
there's program weight and there's weight. I I think he's somewhere around 5'9", 150. I'd have to look it up to know the exact numbers, but he's small. You know, he's going to be the smallest guy in the field every time he takes the field, which a lot of people will relate to. And then, he scores a touchdown and does a backflip.
Oh, the backflip. That's yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
right.
that exuberance, that joy that he expresses in playing, that endears him to a lot of people.
All right, so Josh wanted to ask you a question. He's because and I haven't asked you this either, but you watch, are you watching primarily Oregon football, or have you been watching everybody this season? Do you have, because he's asking a question. I don't know if you, in your opinion, who do you think is the top QB coming out of the draft, going into the draft this year? Who would be? Have you seen enough of the quarterbacks out there to give up an opinion? That's what Josh wanted to ask.
A lot will depend on how they look in shorts and perform at the combine, but just based on what I've seen in games, it's got to be either Fernando Mendoza or Ty Simpson. I mean,
Right, because
they yeah, they've
no,
both been very consistent. And
right.
we'll have a clearer idea seeing how they do through the pressure of the playoffs. But Mendoza's been terrific in that Indiana system.
So I got a question for you. Do you think Josh, that's a great question. Do you feel Dillon Gabriel went to the wrong team? Do you feel, because he has not looked good in the NFL, but I don't know if it's clean. And I think Stefanski is a good coach, but he has not looked very good so far in the NFL. And I know he came in with the arm strength and all that, but he has the IQ is there. But what do you think about that?
I love Dillon Gabriel as a Duck, as a college quarterback. He conducted himself with a lot of class. He was very well spoken, a good leader, a winner. He has limitations as a pro quarterback. I mean, he's 5'11", 205 pounds. Um, he doesn't have the strongest arm. He's tough. He sees the field well. He processes well. But part of the problem he has in Cleveland is they're just not very good. I mean, the
No.
offensive line, the running backs, the receivers, they were. I I don't think Joe Burrow could win in Cleveland. I mean, certainly they do better, but I don't necessarily. They wouldn't win 8 games, you know. So Gabriel, I think he's could have a long career as an NFL backup because he's studious, he's smart, he says the right things, he prepares, but he's not going to be um, a long-term starter in the NFL. And the whole hype and drama they've stirred up about him and Shador is a little ridiculous. Neither one of them, I think, is an NFL uh, starting quarterback at this point. Now, Shador's a little taller, maybe can throw the deep ball a little better. He might have a better long term future, but both of them are developmental cases, and it would not surprise me at all. What are the Browns now? 2-8, 2-7?
I think so. I think 2-7. 2-7.
It
I
would
don't have
not
it in front of me.
Yeah, it would not surprise me at all to see them draft Fernando Mendoza and start the whole process over.
Yeah.
I don't think they found their franchise guy at this point.
And Josh, and that's the thing too. We're not there, but what Shador is not showing enough. That's what makes, like, Gabriel's had some bad games, and still Shador is not getting a start. And you're thinking, well, I'm not on the practice field, but is Shador not showing stuff on the practice field enough to overtake and get a start, which hasn't happened yet? So I'm not in the team. I don't know what's going on but that is kind of interesting to me, is that Shador is still, and he was quarterback 3, wasn't even quarterback 2. Bailey Zappi. So you're like, so Gabriel is still going to start. I just pray that it doesn't ruin him, because Brady Quinn was a guy out of college and then he disappeared. There's a lot of guys gone to Cleveland and disappear. And I really hope that isn't the case with Dillon Gabriel, like you said, because, so. Yeah.
Cleveland is a place where quarterbacks go to die. Since
Yeah.
1999, when the franchise was established, I think Gabriel is the 42nd starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns. So,
It's
so that's a lot of mismanagement. That's a lot of missteps, and they've had guys that have done well for a bit of time and then failed. Um, Gabriel is a very resilient guy. Over his college career, he's been praised, he's been vilified, he's been the guy they want to run out of town. When he was in his last year at Oklahoma, there was noise being made about how Jackson Arnold, you know, ought to be
right.
the
Right.
guy,
Yeah.
ought to step in and takes his place. So, he looked for a new landing spot and wound up at Oregon, did very well, won 13 games in a row and a Big Ten championship before they had a collective pratfall in the Rose Bowl, which there were a lot of factors involved in that.
And that's the thing they're going to work on for this season is not have the same problems that they had last year. Well, that's the thing. And Ohio State came in and that's the thing too. They peaked. Ohio State came in, they weren't, and they just came in and just, foot on the pedal. Like I always talk about the Giants in that 2007. Went in, lost to the Patriots in the last game of the season, and then went in 3 games on the road and just got better and better every game. And then went against the Pats and we're like, hey, we're not worried about them. Whereas maybe Oregon came and hey, we won the Big Ten, we won 13 in a row, and you take your foot off the pedal and everything just falls apart.
I think the long, long layoff from the Big Ten
Yes,
championship to January 1st made them less sharp, and they didn't use it as well as they should have. And they ran into a very good, very talented Ohio State team that was playing terrific football. They were on a mission. They were playing a little bit ticked off, and that was the difference. I mean, you get a team that talented that is playing with that sort of urgency and purpose, and no one was going to beat them. And
no.
they deserved the national championship and absolutely boat raced the Ducks. I think this time around, Oregon's working harder to peak at the right time and have a better plan, but it'll still be the same challenge if they get there.
But this year they come in as an underdog. They're going to come in. They're not coming in. They're probably not going to make the Big Ten championship game. So they're going to come in and people are going to, and that's going to, and Dante Moore's, you could, a little chippy. And I like that about a guy. Like, maybe they doubted him. Okay, you guys played Iowa, you had to win this, but you have to play those games. Those are the games that get you ready for the playoffs. It's not winning 56-10 every game and, having the starters, everybody laughing in the third quarter. This game helped. This was a championship game for them, like a championship, when a DNA game for them. They put them in, okay, we're playing on a hostile environment, bad weather, on the road, and we needed and our quarterback stepped up when he had to step up. And that's all I would, that gets me excited going forward.
They've been tested, JD. They've had some adversity. They had to win in double overtime at Penn State. Now, maybe they made those games tougher than they needed to be, but the thing is, they responded to those situations, which can only help them as they face the playoffs. They need a drive to win the game down the road. Well, they've done that. They've done that 3 or
Right.
4 times, and that's how you grow, particularly with a redshirt sophomore starting quarterback.
Now, I wanted to ask you one more thing. I don't want to. I know you're a busy man, but Bo Nix, the team's 8-2. He has looked very up and down. Now, I know he's a second-year player. A lot of people are hard on him. Is he almost like ahead of schedule in a way? Like the team's better than? I think they took a huge jump from last year. The defense is better. Offense has been. But do you see long-term success for him in his career?
Defense travels, right? I think the Broncos are in a very good position because they do have such a strong defense. And Bo is funny because He reminds me of a quarterback the Ducks used to have, Joey Harrington, who played in the pros but did not have a successful NFL career. But in college, he would always mess around and muck around and throw a few balls into the dirt in the first half, and then come on in the fourth quarter and win the game. Out here, we called him Captain Comeback because he just had such a flair for it. And Nick's is the same way. He can look miserable. The Denver fans are actually booing him the other night, but he came
Right.
back and won the game. And I think this season already he's had three fourth quarter comebacks, including a 33-point comeback against the New York Giants. So he just has kind of a flair, and he's one of those guys who. He's sort of a backyard football player, you know. He's the son of a former Auburn quarterback, a high school teacher and coach, and he just has that in his DNA. Just this, backyard seat of the pants sort of football. He's going to run around and make a play, and he can look, miserable, just out of sync and erratic for 3 quarters, and just when the chips are down, his team knows that Bo's going to get it done. That he'll run around or scramble for a first down or make a big throw or find somebody. The pressure doesn't bother him. He's so grounded in his family and faith that playing football is just playing football, and I
And
love
he
that about him. He's
and he look
entertaining.
and he looks like a '50s player. He's got that. He's got the head. Do you remember a movie with Randy? Was it Rand? No, Dennis Quaid, Mr. All American. He kind of
Yes.
looks like he looks like Dennis Quaid with that hair, like the buzz cut and everything.
Oh yeah.
And you know what? You brought, who you brought up? You brought up Joey Harrington. Well, he went to the Lions, and when he went to the Lions back then, that was where you went for your career to die. I don't think we never saw the true Joey Harrington because he was on terrible, terrible teams. He just never, is he still involved? Do you know what are any of these former players like involved doing pregame radio, any of that stuff for football? Is any of those guys doing that?
Joey has done some of those sports talk shows. He's on a thing called Talkin Ducks, although he's taken this year off for that. He's very involved in the community, has a foundation that, supports a lot of local charities and stuff. But, in spite of the difficulty of his NFL career, he made a good living
Yes, he
and
made it.
took care of
He
his
did.
money. And I think he has 2 or 3 boys now, and a family. He's doing really well, and he doesn't he doesn't really have to work. A lot of times he drives the soccer van, but he's involved with some things around the Ducks. He does not do any of the Oregon Sports Network play-by-play stuff, but he's a frequent guest on local radio shows and does the Talkin Ducks weekly film analysis show.
Okay, I wanted to ask you. So, if I'm remembering correctly, you said this is your first. You're taking your wife to her first Oregon Ducks football game ever. Is this ever?
We watch every game religiously, and she absorbs a lot of other content just because she's all around it. And of course, she reads every single one of my articles. But
Of course.
we went to the spring game this spring, and that's always a fun event. But in terms of going down to an actual game and sitting in the stands together, this is the first time. And we had a terrible fight this afternoon because I lost my patience and threw the television remote or some stupid thing. She was telling me to turn down the TV, and I started yelling at her for always bossing me around, and it deteriorated from there. But when she gets home, I have to apologize for that. But we're very much looking forward to seeing the game live together.
Okay, so I want to tell you today was phenomenal. So I usually end with a trivia question. I looked up a trivia question, and I want to see if you would know this. I have a trivia question for you today, if you're willing to try to answer it. And also, I agree with Josh. So Josh, I agree. Sean Payton was the perfect coach. And the reason why it works is because Sean Payton wanted Bo Nix. He wanted him. He got the quarterback he wanted, and that's why. So they're gonna work together. I look forward to the future. So this is the question I have for you. I saw this today on Twitter. Ryan DePaul put this up. Since 2020, only one NFL quarterback has thrown at least 155 passes with fewer than 55 interceptions. So there's only one NFL quarterback who's thrown at least 155 touchdown passes with fewer than 55 interceptions. Who is the quarterback? There's only one name on that list.
Oh, man. That's a great question. I'm going to guess Justin Herbert.
Fantastic. That was the question. Yeah. Yeah. And you and your wife, I get all the time with my girlfriend. They're all sisters, and we all do the things, and we're going to have to apologize later to them. So now but that was great. You got the trivia question. You did fantastic.
Awesome. What have I won?
I'm getting t-shirts made. I'm going to get a JD Talkin Sports t-shirt. I'm going to send you one. But so this is what I wanted to ask you. Do you think we should talk? I think we should wait. I think we could talk in 2 weeks. Do you want to talk after the USC game? Do you want to talk after the Washington game? But I wanted to know when do you think we should talk next?
Anytime. I mean, I love doing it. You're such a fun host because you take all the tension and nervousness out of it, which is nice. It's like talking to a buddy at the bar, which is pretty awesome. I think a logical time to talk would be after the USC game, before the Washington game, and then maybe again after the playoff draw comes out. But I'm open to anything. I'd come once a week if you wanted me to.
Right? Yeah. Listen, that's what I'm saying. So the great thing is, my girlfriend is going away Tuesday morning for 13 days to Aruba. She doesn't come back until the Saturday of the Ohio State-Michigan game. So I can do any time. So if you want to do next week after the Minnesota game before USC, and after, I will do next week. My schedule is open, so we'll do it when it works for you. So I say yes. Let's talk after the Minnesota game, before the USC game. Maybe we'll figure out next week sometime, and we'll do another one because let's just keep this going. Yeah, I think it's great. Yeah, and then even after football ends, I would love to talk. Just keep talking the Oregon stuff. I just think it's a great thing to talk about. I just think because people don't talk about the guys I have on want to talk Yankee, and I'm like, guys, I can't. And you come in and I'm like, thank God we're talking about something totally. And that's what I love about doing the show is that I connected with you, and now we've developed this rapport. And I mean, Dale, you're phenomenal. You're prepared. You know your stuff, and your insights are incredible. So I really appreciate everything. I mean, I really appreciate you so much. So,
well, it's a lot of fun to do, and this is such a great time in college football. I think my funnest season ever. Not just because the Ducks are doing well, but just because there's so many great storylines around the game, and there are so many teams with a shot at the playoffs, and it's been competitive. And NIL and revenue sharing, although they have their drawbacks, they've made the game more even, right? A lot of teams there's parity. A lot of teams are in the hunt.
Right. A lot of parity. That the word you used was parity. Exactly. And I don't think it hurts because I feel like it gives teams. Who would have thought Indiana would be a team competing for Cignetti has turned out. Cignetti is the most confident, cocky, whatever you want to call him. It's working. And Indiana's got to hold on to him for dear life. Because teams, Brian Kelly now is, did you see that? They said they fired him with cause. Now he's going after, he says, oh, okay. So they're going to have a little lawsuit, right? Little trial right there. Something's going to happen. So it's crazy. And all the coaches getting fired this year. I think Lanning is in like you said, the perfect place is in Eugene, and he's built, like you said, he is building he's not thinking about this. It's for the future. We're bringing in guys, and this is a foundation, which is what you want. Listen, it's fantastic. Yeah.
The
So
best coaches create a culture. And Ryan Day at Ohio State, Kurt Signetti at Indiana, they create a culture. It's consistent. I think about what Signetti has done. In 2 years, he's taken Indiana from the absolute basement of the Big Ten to a national power. It's phenomenal. And he did it by instilling a culture of toughness, by getting kids who love to play football, doesn't go by the star ratings or anything like that. He just gets, tough kids who will play his way. And it's marvelous. I have nothing but respect for what the Hoosiers are doing.
yeah, you just look at it. You're like, Indiana. Yeah, I remember Bobby Knight in basketball. Football. We're talking football. And also Texas A&M's coach, the guy who came from Duke. I think he's yeah. Elko is a damn good coach, and I hate to say this to my cousin Hal, but I almost wish you had Elko. And to me, I feel Sarkisian is an offensive coordinator posing as a head coach, and I think if you have to win a game, I don't think he's that guy, and I feel bad for my cousin, but I feel like you really have to have a coach in place that can, and that's why Lanning, that game, that was a trap game in Iowa, and they, hey, listen, and your kicker, that's the thing. They gave him, they took the timeout, and you saw the look on his face. He goes, I'm making this. Like I was watching him, I go, oh, he's making this kick. It was right down the middle. Like you said, your kickers always are. Yeah. Crazy.
It was incredible to hit 3 pressure kicks like that in one game. I mean, he made a kick right before the end of the first half and at the end of the game, and then another one from 40 yards. To hit 3 kicks like that in the driving rain, in the swirling wind, in a 2-point game, it's incredible. We've very seldom had that here in Eugene. I can think of 1 or 2 kickers in 40 years that were that consistent and reliable.
And the thing too, I felt when Moore got him down the field, I didn't feel like, I felt like they're winning this game. Like he got him down there and he goes, okay, now finish it for us. And I was like, yeah, there was an energy about it. And I am now, listen, I'm watching them now. I started talking to you. I'm like, listen, I kind of want Oregon to go, I told my girl, I said, we gotta go see Michigan play out in Eugene. I said, that's an environment. And I would go to the Nike, I buy all my Nike stuff. I'm like, so I really appreciate you coming on today. So we'll shoot for a day next week. We'll figure out a day. How about that?
That sounds outstanding. I gotta go apologize to my wife. You have a great evening.
You have a great evening. Thanks a lot, Dale. Bye-bye.
Bye.